what we do here is go back.
The year was 2015. Now, a little game called Sonic Boom Rise of Lyrica came out, and if you don't know, it basically almost killed the franchise. There was a game, there was a show, there was another game on the 3DS, I don't know, I didn't play it. But Sonic Boom Rise of Lyrica was so bad. The whole Sonic franchise wouldn't even be here today without it. There was controversies between Big Red Button, Sega lost a lot of money, no big games really came out, and in the midst of all that, there was an article that I saw, and I always wanted to check it out. Sonic the Hedgehog needs to die. Answer. Now, I've never really read this article in full. I've seen it referenced on Prem's channel. I think it was when he made a song.
You reviewers cannot tell me nothing. I'll never die, I won't listen to you.
But something about it's just never left my brain, and I've always wanted to see, why Sonic the Hedgehog should die. Answer. So without further ado, let's not waste any more time. Let's dive right into this. Sometimes it's better to pull the plug than watch something die a slow, agonizing death. It's hard on everyone, painful for the victims, and heartbreaking for those around them. Nobody needs to see someone they care about fade away into an endless, degrading, excruciating fashion. I agree with the last part, especially when it's talking about video games. You don't want to see a video game character or video game franchise just die off. Like, at the very least, give us something, and if a game was bad, the game's just bad. Like, for example, I'm a huge fan of the Rayman franchise, and for a while, we just haven't seen a game, and it feels like the franchise is dead. Now, there are reports of a new game coming out, so that's something to get excited about, but I've always wanted to see, a Rayman 4, even a Rayman 2D game. I don't want to see these collabs. I don't want to see rabbits taking up all the shine. Like, just give me a new game. If it flops, and we'll know it flops, but you can't just end up Legends and leave it like that. So that's my thoughts on that. That's exactly what's happening with Sonic the Hedgehog, who continues to star in video games despite the fact that they're all awful and nobody cares. Sega is being cruel. Sonic needs to die. Now hold on a second, let's look into the games that came out before this. I'm not really looking at the games that came out, but if I remember off the top of my head, you had Sonic Racing Transform. That was a good game. That was a really good game. They should, make another Transform game, make another racing game. I'm shaking in my boots as we speak. Yeah, you had that. Before that, you had Generations. I think Lost World came out in 2013. That was not terrible. So I don't know, was it as bad as he was saying? Maybe not, but when you look at 2015, obviously the revisionism is always going to affect it. Now I can, we can talk about.
Oh, it wasn't that bad.
I mean, it was really bad. But obviously it was 2015, you never know. Sonic Boom, it was really bad. This next paragraph isn't really too important. The most important thing you need to know is that it sold less than 5,000 copies. Oh, that's really bad. Apparently also a Metacritic score of 32. That's pretty awful, isn't it? I didn't know it was like that. The 3DS version is so bad that Sonic fans have taken into giving the game 10 out of 10 in user reviews in an attempt to outweigh the negative critic feedback. That's just being delusional, You have to ride out for your franchise. If you don't like it like that, then you leave. Even if it's bad, we always have to stick up for it. 500,000 copies is terrible. Then again, it was also stuck on a console that flopped as well, so something like this was bound to happen at some point. Now, I'm not going to go into the next paragraph. It's going to be on the screen if you want to read it. It's basically talking about, Sonic was on the Genesis and he used to compete with Mario, and maybe it wasn't as good as Mario, but it was always, it was a good alternative to the Nintendo SNES. I'm not crazy enough to think that the Genesis was a better console than the SNES. I have no stake in the matter. That's your fight. My fight was always the PlayStation versus the Xbox. Thank you. PlayStation was better. Fast forward to today, and it's hard to not even care about a new Sonic release. He's had a few good moments in the Genesis era. The Adventure series for the ill-fated Dreamcast was great, and I truly think the Game Boy Advance proved that the formula still had some merit. But things have only gotten worse since then. There have been spin-offs and reboots, big budget console games and small mobile releases, but none have managed to capture the essence of what truly made the early games so charming. The new Sonic games feel more like terrible movie tie-ins, shallow cash-ins on a name more than anything else. The best thing Sonic has done in recent years was a brief cameo of Wreck-It Ralph. Damn! Movie tie-ins? For what movie? I always said it was cameo and Wreck-It Ralph, though short, was sweet. And if you want to watch a video of my analysis on Sonic in the Wreck-It Ralph franchise, there's a tag. I don't know which part it's going to be on, but it's going to be on the screen somewhere. People like to deride Nintendo for relying on big name franchises, but a new Nintendo console comes out, you'll be playing the next Super Mario or Legend of Zelda before long. But unlike Sega, Nintendo gets to return it to the same well because it treats its franchise with respect. The most recent Mario game is up there with the best, and the Wii U version of Zelda has me more excited about any other game this year. Sonic, meanwhile, made one spin-off where the characters had guns. I do agree with the fact that, people can bypass Nintendo going back to, the Marios, whatever works for them, because when they make it work, they make it work. Super Mario Odyssey, like, yes, that was amazing. The 2 new Legend of Zelda games that came out, the big ones, I forgot their names, but you know, the ones that came out, they both showed an evolution of the gameplay style for those franchises. Especially with exploring the world, you know, you can use different transportations, you can create your own devices. Like, the gimmicks they add in their games works. The gimmicks from Super Mario Odyssey, having to capture different enemies, you can use different enemies to platform into different ways. Like, it just worked. Now, if we look at Sonic, especially with Sonic, I'm going to look at Frontiers because it came out around the same time as Odyssey, and you know, I was just talking about Odyssey. What was the main gimmick from that game? Creating your own character. Now, while that's great, and there were different weapons that you could have used, you know, to help with the gameplay, it wasn't really it wasn't really groundbreaking, or at the very least, it wasn't super fun. You know, sure, you can have some joy from, you know, using the fire flamethrower and just blazing through everyone, but it's not the same as capturing an enemy and, you know, finding new ways to complete a puzzle, you know, stuff like that. But let's look at the gimmicks before that. What was the main gimmick from Lost World? You know, you can have like different ways to attack an enemy, but it just made it complicated. It wasn't really explained well, and there was also the Wisp, which, you know, Wisp whatever. Generations had, you know, the 2D Sonic, which was fun, by the way. Don't get me wrong, it was fun, but it did get overused over time, and obviously people complained about that, and now it's kind of slowed down. Now, while it's not necessarily incorrect here, we need to stop talking about the guns. Like, there are so many other examples you could use. Why are the guns the first? I know the guns. I don't even know why I'm asking the question. I know why, because it's a Sonic franchise. Why are you looking at guns in a Sonic franchise? Is the guns really the only thing you can talk about? Sonic's slow and sad decline is akin to a great athlete who doesn't know when to retire. It's hard to remember how great he once was when time has passed, and have a hard time imagining what could be done to make the Sonic name relevant again. But we know now. Just, you know, make a movie, add a bit of controversy, just a tiny bit of controversy. Make it come out, it'll be alright. And then you make a franchise from that movie. And then you just make some good quality games. Take your time with it.
It was perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
At least now you know what it's like to bring your name back to the irrelevancy. Unlike Mario, Sonic is a product of his time, a quintessentially 90s personality who just hasn't been able to figure out his place in the modern world. I don't think he ever will. He also exists in other formats, including a cartoon series, a comics fittingly published by the Archie Comics, another vestige of a time long ago. But really, we need to end it all. Maybe once enough time has passed and we've all grieved him, we can consider the notion of a reboot. Sonic has been dying for a long time. He needs to be put out of his misery. Well, that was some literature we just read. Now, what have we learned from this? Don't make Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric ever again, and everything will turn out just okay. But this is an interesting piece, you know, that I found, an interesting article, because it does highlight how, well, maybe not the modern, you know, the modern audience, because, you know, I don't think many gamers, okay, not gamers is the wrong example. I don't think many outlets would have thought like this, but it does highlight that maybe it was okay to just take a step back, you know, think things over, and then try again. That's at least what I've done. I wouldn't, you know, necessarily killed the franchise, because even though, yes, it flopped on the Wii U, it's still the Wii U that also flopped. But I think this kind of looks into, you know, you're in a rocky place. What do? Just take a step back, consider your options, and then you try again. That's kind of how life works, right? You take a step back, you look at everything, look at what's going wrong, and then you try again. Now, granted, Sega did try to, you know, show, oh, we can still make games, and then they made forces that forced them to take a step back. But it's an interesting piece, and hopefully you found some insight into this. Do I think you found insight into this? Probably not, because, I mean, it's very extreme. It's a very extreme article. But it is what it is. This video might have been a little bit shorter, but, you know, I just wanted to get this out of the way because I kept remembering this, and if I didn't record it now, I probably would just keep remembering it and not bothering to take a look at it. So without further ado, hopefully you enjoyed, and yeah, take care.